Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So the other night, my friend Pastor John Amanchuku was cuffed and arrested and escorted out of a school board meeting in Wake County, North Carolina. Why? Well, if you guys know who Pastor John is and what he does so boldly and so bravely, and by the way, I've had him on my show. It was a great conversation. He's a man full of conviction, and we need more men full of conviction in today's day and age. We're sorely lacking in men that are like Pastor John Amanchuku. You know why that is? Because the mainstream messaging today, especially to young boys, is that you are toxic. You can't stand up for what is right and what is true anymore. And if you do, this is the perfect example of what happens when you stand up for what is right and what is true. Pastor John was at the school board meeting defending the innocence of young girls and young boys as well. He was demanding justice for Lorena Benson, a 15-year-old girl who was forced to read and discuss sexually explicit soft porn at school against her and her parents' wishes. But of course, the school board doesn't really care about that at all. Now, the school board would much rather paint an example of anyone that actually knows what's right and what's just and what's fair, such as Pastor John Amanchuku, and they would much rather show force and remove a humble pastor in cuffs and arrest the man instead of actually going, you know what, we stuffed up here. We shouldn't have allowed a 15-year-old girl to read, or we shouldn't have forced her to read any of these soft porn videos or books at school against her and her parents' wishes. See, parents can't actually be parents anymore. They can't really raise their own kid. You know why? Because the school will do it for you. And if the parents have any say in the matter at all, the school board goes, no, we veto it. Screw you as the parent. You got no say. We as the school have a right to indoctrinate your kid. And you know what? The parents are just like, I can't take my kid anywhere else. So you're stuck. They're stuck having to learn this BS, this nonsense. And for someone like Pastor John, who has been to many different board meetings and almost been arrested several times, I've seen them, the man gets fired up for the truth. That's why his handle is Rev with Truth. People need to hear the truth. They don't need to cower away from it like this school board meeting. So the problem is when Pastor John gets there, he's a force to be reckoned with. He's a humble man, but don't get him fired up when it comes to the truth, because that man will speak and preach the truth. Damn it. And he does a great job at that. And it's convicting, not going to lie. The school board members, you can see they're squirming and they're unsettled in their seats. And damn well right they should be, because they are pure and downright evil, despicable human beings that are sitting in those seats, allowing this sort of stuff and this perversion to go on. I'm sick of it. I know Pastor John's sick of it. I know Charlie Kirk's sick of it. And shame on the school board members for allowing Pastor John, a pastor for goodness sake, to be cuffed and arrested and taken out of a school board meeting for doing the right thing. What message is that sending to other parents and to the rest of society at large? You guys are the laughing stock, not Pastor John. Pastor John did absolutely nothing wrong. He did everything right. And what are the consequences for doing everything right? You may be wondering. Getting arrested. Charlie Kirk goes, Rev Truth had every right to speak and to exercise his First Amendment rights and to reprimand the Wake County School Board for violating HB 49 Parental Rights Bill. This is unacceptable. Instead of putting preachers in handcuffs, we should be arresting the perverted creeps who subject kids to this filth. We must fight for the innocence of children. Well, sadly, in the world we live in today, perversion is rife at the moment, and it really riles me up. It really does rile me up. I'm sick and tired of seeing the perversion and the filth. Porn ruins lives. Filth and perversion for a young kid destroys their brain. But of course, these perverted individuals sitting in their ivory seats and towers making the decision, I'm on a school board, man. So you know what? Up with perversion and down with the pastor criticizing my decision. Unbelievable. Pastor John said, "It's true. I was handcuffed tonight at Wake County School Board meeting for demanding justice for Lorena Benson, a 15-year-old girl who was forced to read and discuss inappropriate content at school, and for reprimanding the Wake County School Board for violating HB 49 Parental Rights Bill. The board breaks the law and no one cares. I protest and the cops cuff me." It's a great question. You can't protest in today's day and age. No, you can be a psychologist and go after the likes of an innocent 15-year-old boy and try and abuse the living daylights out of that young 15-year-old boy, and you can still practice psychology according to the actual psychological board. But if you're Jordan Peterson or if you're Pastor John and you want to say something that is actually correct, it's the truth, man, you're going to be reprimanded and you're going to be in a lot of trouble. But if you want to actually reprimand the ones that are causing the issue in the first place and providing all the filth, not going to have it. That's not allowed, people. Peaceful civil disobedience is required when justice is being stolen, especially from the least of these. And I think he's right on many, many levels. And the thing is, when it comes to Christians being angry, I think it's right to be angry for when the truth is being taken over and when there's a lot of filth and a lot of perversion being pushed into schools, and especially when it comes to the children's innocence. I think Christians should get angry. I think Christians should get really upset, and I think Christians should actually do something about it instead of sitting down, saying nothing and trying to be all peacemakers. You're not helping the situation anymore by sitting down saying nothing. And the reason why Pastor John was arrested is because he actually stood for something. He stood for the truth. He stood for what was right. And you know what God said was going to happen? You're going to get persecuted. More than that, you're going to get arrested more than likely. Read the Fox's Book of Martyrs, for goodness sake. Look what happened to those people that actually stood up for what was right. They were killed. They were thrown to the lions. They were torn apart. In today's day and age, Christianity is under attack. More and more Christians that speak up and speak out, speak their mind, they start speaking the truth. This kind of stuff happens. I'm sick of it. Aren't you? Aren't you done with it? But everyone's like, oh, God said to turn the other cheek. Yeah, I know that. But when it comes to children, especially, you're not turning any other cheek, mate. Stop it. You don't turn the other cheek. Oh, forgive the school board meeting for indoctrinating my kid and ruining their innocence. You don't forgive like that. Nah, doesn't work. You know why? Because they're going to continue doing it. You don't just go, oh, forget it. I'll just sit back in silence and do nothing. I'm turning the other cheek. I'm doing what Christ said. You know what? When people were making a mockery and making money in God's temple or God's house, what do you think he did? You think he turned the other cheek then? No. He tore up the tables, man. He got a whip and started whipping people. He actually did something. It's called action, justified action. And that's Jesus, man. He never sinned once, yet he showed righteous anger. We need righteous indignation here. I think it's rightful anger when you're going after a school board that wants to pervert your kids. Proverbs 28:1 says, the wicked run away when no one is chasing them, but the godly are as bold as lions. Oh, man, I love that verse. It gave me chills just saying that. Let me read it again. Proverbs 28:1. The wicked run away when no one is chasing them, but the godly are as bold as lions. Luke 23:34. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. Fear, go. Fear no one but God. Here's what happened to Pastor John, and then we'll finish up.
Yes, sir. Yeah, but officer. Officer. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is true. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I told them why I'm protesting. There was a 15-year-old girl who came to the school board meeting, a 15-year-old girl who came to the school board meeting in tears, read from a book, said she was traumatized, and they forced her to do it in school, and the board did nothing about it. But instead, y'all put a preacher in handcuffs. No, but you put the preacher in handcuffs, but no one's doing anything to those people on the board. You know what I mean? So, I mean, listen, if you want me to leave, I'll leave. You want me to leave, I'll leave. I can leave. I don't mind. I'll get him. This is for so I'll take it.
Still respectful, even though he's handcuffed, even though there are so many cops. Literally, like, how many cops are there when there's one man that did absolutely nothing wrong? What do you guys think he's going to do? Honestly, what do you think Pastor John, a pastor, is going to do? Do you think he's a threat, for goodness sake, for saying things that you disagree with? So therefore you need like 5, 6, 7 cops to surround him. Like, he ain't going anywhere. He didn't fight. He didn't resist. You saw him. He was being respectful to the officer. Sir. Yes, sir. Unbelievable. It is really just unbelievable what happened. Pastor John, man, my thoughts and my prayers are with you. Thank you so much for speaking up and being bold enough to do so. That verse from Proverbs is a powerful verse, and I hope that you keep it close to your heart, but know that there are people out there that are supporting you and cheering you on as best as we possibly can. But you guys take care, you be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.